It's Tiered Tray Tuesday, and today we're going to do a Halloween tiered tray. I have Hocus Pocus tiered tray DIYs for you today. DIY number 1, this is a sign I had back in the spring. I used it on my lemon tray. I'm just measuring it again to get the dimensions because I'm going to make a Cricut sign for it. First, I'm taking some white paint from the Dollar Tree and just making it look more aged than it looked before. And then I have this SVG that I purchased off of Etsy, and I will link where I purchased it below. And I just thought it was the coolest bed and breakfast sign. It had that spooky look to it. I'm using chestnut here, and I'm just going to try to age this sign a little bit more. I'm giving it kind of a rusty look, like it's a metal sign and it's rusting. Adding in a little bit more white now. After I did that, I decided to sand it, first to smooth the surface for the sign and also just to give it even more of an aged look. Now I'm taking Mod Podge and I'm putting that all over the front of it, and I'm going to let that dry because that's going to help the sign to adhere better. So here's my sign, and the first thing that I want to say is that I recommend making this sign bigger than I've made it. Now I made it to fit on this sign that I already had, but you can see that some of those black pieces are not pulling up with the rest of it. You're weeding out the letters. You're not weeding out around the letters. So you do have to save those pieces of your A's and E's and S's that are in the middle there. So it was a little time consuming, and because I made this sign as small as I did, it was a little bit trickier for me to do that. And you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm adding those little pieces back in as best I can. So I recommend making it bigger. I think if you make the sign bigger, you won't have as much of a problem with it as I did. I wanted it to fit on my tray though, so that's why I made it as small as I did. All right, we're taking these game blocks from the Dollar Tree. Actually, I already had these on hand. We don't really play this game anymore. So I have 9 of them here, and I'm going to take these and I'm going to go ahead and separate them, and I'm going to paint them. And I'm using my Anita's Craft paint in Pumpkin to paint the first 3. And we're going to do 1 coat, and then we're going to end up giving it 2 coats. Next, we're going to take the next 3, and this is a black paint that I have on hand. It's the Americana Satin. 1 coat of this. Let that dry. I couldn't decide 1 coat or 2 coat. In the end, I would say maybe just 1 coat. Okay, I don't have a purple on hand, so I'm going to take blue and red and mix it together, and that makes purple. So I'm adding in my blue here, and I added in quite a bit because once I mix it, it's maybe hard to get it mixed exactly the same way again. So I'm mixing a lot more, probably a lot more here than I need. Actually, I know it's a lot more than I need. I did it 50-50 at first, and so I went ahead, and then after doing that I mixed it all together, and I did come up with a purple here, and then I added in a little bit more red because I felt like it needed a little bit more red, and that's how it's looking right there. And then I started to paint it on here, and it still had quite a bit of a blue look to it. I don't know if you can see that, but more red, yes. So I added more than 50% red. And then I was happy with the color, and I was ready to start painting it. And I think that blue was a lot thicker than the red, and I think that's why I needed more red too. Okay, I'm gonna let that set, and then when I come back in a little bit, I'm gonna take a look at how it looks. I need to cover up my paint and make sure that that doesn't get dried out. Okay, so I did 2 coats, and then after coming back and looking at it, like this top piece is just 1 coat. I actually like the way that looks with the wood grain through it. The other pieces are 2 coated, and I really feel like it's too dark. It's really close to the same color as the black, and you can see how dark it looks there. So I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm going to wipe some of this off. I think it just depends on your preference, but I'm leaning more towards just doing one coat on it. The thing is sometimes if you do 2 coats, then you know if you want to have it full coverage. And a lot of times I want things to be full coverage. I don't always like the way they look when you see the wood through. So I don't know, but this time I really think I like it better with the wood showing. It really is just your own preference on what you feel like doing. But one thing you want to make sure you do is make sure you're getting those corners, because the corners there are what are going to be seen on the side of these blocks. And so you want to make sure as you're wiping it off, and today I'm using a baby wipe, that's how I'm doing it today. You really want to make sure that you're getting those edges, and you can see how that looks with the black there. So now I can tell that it's definitely purple, so I'm liking that a lot better. So here is how it looks when it's done. Now I just have to do the same thing to the other 2 sets. And here's how they look when they're done, and we're going to make a little mini book stack. Okay, let's talk about gluing this. So we're going to glue these sides together. I looked it up because I wanted to use wood glue, but it actually said when I was researching it that the hot glue works better with the painted wood. I did use acrylic paint. It did say that wood glue works okay with acrylic paint, but it actually thought that the hot glue would work better. So I am using the hot glue. If you hadn't painted the sides, maybe you would use the wood glue with it. I'm going to do the same thing with the orange, and then the same thing with the purple. But I did paint the tops, and I do have to glue the tops, so I don't know, I just went hot glue all the way here. And then we're going to add the black top, and then we're going to go ahead and start embellishing it. So I bought some raffia at Michael's, and this is a really large package of raffia. I got it for like $3. And I'm just kind of wrapping it around the side here. I know if you've seen the book stacks, I'm sure you have, because you know they're everywhere. So that's what I am doing here. All right, let's go ahead and embellish it. I made this raffia bow off of camera because I'm not good at it at all. I tied it with jute in the middle, and we're just gonna hot glue that on to the top there. Trim your ends to the size that you want them to be. So the Sanderson sisters, they part in the movie where they say amuck, amuck, amuck. So I just thought that I would use these words on this little book stack, and I will link the font below for you. Then I took this package of, these are buttons. This is from Walmart. They were about $4, and I'm just gonna take that boot and a button that I have, and I'm just gonna hot glue those onto the top. And there's my little Hocus Pocus book stack. All right, we're starting with these beads that I got off of Amazon. I particularly love these little pieces here. There's no way that I could paint this and not be frustrated and do as good of a job. So it was worth it to buy these. All right, so I have my pattern going here. This is the pattern that I'm gonna make. It's just gonna be one of each repeating. I have this thinner twine that I'm using. It did come from the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit thinner than the smaller spools of twine that they have, so I'm using that, and then I just have it looped on a larger needle here with a larger opening, and I just taped the end of that to get it through the circle part of the needle, and then I'm just going to string these on. And it's a double strand. that's how I'm doing it here. So just like that, and I'm gonna just do a big long pattern of it. I just want to show you real quick that I tied a knot on this end. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and finish off those beads. We're gonna tie a knot on this end. And then that's how it's looking. Now I'm taking the twine again, and now I'm going to make 2 tassels, one for each end. And I wrapped this about 50 times, and I'm using my this little tray from the Dollar Tree as my guide there. And you just wrap that all around, and then you're going to take twine and you're going to tie right there, so you have like the top of your tassel and then the bottom of your tassel. And then I'm just snipping with my scissors the bottom of it. And then after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to straighten it. Now I'm trying to see how long I want it on the end of my beads, so that's what I'm doing here, and then I'm cutting it and then just trimming it up there. So then I had this ribbon and I've put it in half. If you can see there, that's how it looks when it's full size. And so I just cut it in half, and I'm using these little strips, and I'm going to take that and just put it around here. I'm sure you've seen some of these tassels like this. This is not an original idea. There's a lot of people who've done this. And then I'm just going to wrap more twine around it there and secure it into place. Trim it up. And then I'm going to wrap more twine around it so that it gives it kind of a look of like a finished look to it. And then I'm just looping that underneath some of the loops that are already there to kind of secure it. And then after I do that, I will tie it off. Now I'm looping more of the jute through the top of the hole in the top part of the tassel, and then tying that off, and then I'm tying it all together there. I am not the best tassel maker, and sometimes I don't tie things tight enough, but I'm hoping this one's gonna hold okay. I had some ribbon that was left, and I just wanted to take the pieces at the top that I had tied together and kind of hide them. So I just made a couple little bows, and I'm gonna go ahead and snip the ends so that they're all even. Do that on this side too. And then there you go. There's my beads. And I'm pretty happy with these. I think they're nice. Thank you, Amazon, for those wonderful beads. So I had a lot of this purple paint left, and I had this hexagon shadow box, so I just decided to go ahead and make one more DIY for this tiered tray. And I'm painting it the purple, and I painted 2 coats. And then after I painted the 2 coats, I just used, again, a baby wipe, and I went ahead and just kind of distressed the edges, both the inner edges and the outer edges, and then the inside of the shadow box, and a little bit on the outside and around the edges along the outside. And then, so after I did that, I decided to, this is my background I'm making here just with some scrapbook paper. So I wanted to make like the black flame candle, and I really couldn't think of another way to do it. So I just went back into Cricut and I got this black candle decal, and I went ahead and just printed that out, and I'm just going to use that. And so that's going to make a black candle sign for our Hocus Pocus tiered tray. I just used a glue stick to glue that down in there. Okay, and here is my finished tray. I didn't decorate it for you today. I just decided, because the DIYs were so long, just to show you how it looked decorated. And that's how it all looks together when it's done. I'm loving that Sanderson Sisters Bed and Breakfast sign, and remember, I will link that for you below, the SVG, where you can purchase that. There's my black flame candle, my little stack of books, and then also I have some other DIYs on here that I did earlier in this season, my pumpkins that I made earlier in the season, I have that video. I can link that for you too. I just put it all together. Those are some broomsticks from the Dollar Tree. I used this brown paper filler from the Dollar Tree too. I thought that would be a good thing to use with this Halloween tray. And I like the way it turned out, and I love how it kind of hangs over there and looks kind of like scraggly and kind of lends itself to Halloween. And those are my pumpkins that I made back in July, really, is when I made these. And I can link that video below for you if you would like to see that. And then I also made this bird. This was a Pottery Barn DIY, and I made this earlier in the season too. So there's a close-up of my sign, and I'm trying to show you how it looks weathered. And I like it. I don't know. I think it all works for me. You can let me know in the comments if you think it works. I added the lights in because I thought that would be a nice touch. So let me know what you think. If you like this Hocus Pocus tiered tray, let me know in the comments. Thumbs up. You can subscribe if you'd like to see more tiered tray Tuesdays. I'm doing these every Tuesday, probably through the middle third week in Thanksgiving. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.